What does a dangerous world feel like? You've been taught the answer 4 times now. It presses on your chest, or empties your lungs, or bakes the sweat off your skin. Danger in deep time is something the air does to your body. A needle goes wrong on the readout, and sooner or later you pay for it in flesh. You've learned to trust that a threat is something you can feel coming. This era threw the rule out. Look at the panel. Home first, carbon dioxide, 420 parts per million. Oxygen, 21%, 15 degrees. Now here, 50 million years ago, carbon dioxide, 1,000 to 1,500 parts per million, nearly 4 times what your lungs know. Oxygen, 21%, the same as the breath you just took. Heat, 10 to 14 degrees higher across every latitude, and not one sheet of ice left anywhere on Earth. 2 of those needles are badly wrong, and your body will not register either one. That is the trap, and it's a kind you haven't met. Every world before this reached you through the air. This one won't. It is the first readout in the series that won't hurt you, which is the single most frightening thing about it. So where do you land in a world you could actually live in? In the last place that word should ever fit. You step out in the high Arctic, Svalbard, roughly where it sits today, far above the circle, and there is no ice, not a trace. No white horizon, no cold rising through your boots. There is forest. There are palm fronds overhead. Off to one side, a wide river slides past, brown and slow, and something heavy and armored tips off the bank and slips under. That was a crocodile at the latitude of the North Pole. Jalen Navel has spent years lifting fossils out of Ellesmere Island, not far from where you stand, and the neighbors she keeps finding ought to be impossible. Alligators, giant tortoises, tapirs, the early cousins of hippos, all living year-round at a latitude that today spends half the year frozen and black. Then you breathe, and the air is the gentlest shock of the trip. Warm, wet, a long British summer that never got the message to end. Your chest stays loose, your head stays clear. You draw a second breath and a third, and nothing anywhere in your body objects. 4 eras of the air fighting you, and here it simply doesn't. So if the air has laid down its weapons, what picks them up? Give it an hour. You hear it before you feel it. A thin braided whine from every direction at once, then the first needle of a bite, then too many to count. This warm, wet forest is packed to its ceiling with insects, and everyone has just found the strangest meal to walk under these trees in 50 million years. Why so many? Go back to Eberle's fossils. Her Arctic isn't merely warm, it is warm without end. No killing frost, no lean winter, no season that thins the swarm. Nothing here has ever needed to outlast a cold snap. The insects breed against no ceiling at all, and you, soft, warm, salted, brand new to the place, are the richest thing ever to wander into reach of them. You can't swat a hole in it or walk out of it. By the hour that ought to be nightfall, your skin is a raised map of bites. The wine hasn't dropped, and it settles on you that comfort here is something you claw back, never something you're handed. Miserable, yes. Dangerous, not quite. That's the next thing. So when does it end? The dark, the cool, the quiet, the hour, the swarm sinks into the grass? It doesn't. The sun rolls down toward the horizon, stalls there, and climbs back into the sky. This is the polar summer, and at this latitude the sun will not set for weeks. The first night you're too worn out to mind. By the third you have not slept at all. Underneath your thoughts runs a clock older than your species, tuned to a planet that turns from light to dark and back, and here there is nothing for it to catch on. The signal that tells the brain to power down, to mend, to file the day away, never fires. So a second cost opens up, and this one isn't on your skin, it's behind your eyes. Your judgment phrase first. A simple choice takes a beat too long. You read the riverbank wrong, misjudge a distance, an animal. The insects are at least an enemy you could see. This is subtraction, the quiet theft of the one thing keeping you sharp, where sharp is the only edge you have left. And that is when the real question arrives. Not how you get through tonight, how long you are going to be here at all. So this is only a rougher world than it looked at first. A bad trip with worse mosquitoes and no honest night, isn't it? No. And why not rewrites everything behind you? Jessica Tierney and her colleagues ran this era through a climate model in 2019 and slammed into a wall. No ordinary physics would let the planet run this hot on this little carbon dioxide. The numbers only close once they let the clouds thin out. A feedback that multiplies the warming far past what the gas could do alone. 1,000 to 1,500 parts per million of carbon dioxide genuinely builds exactly this. No ice, forest at the poles, a crocodile in an Arctic river. The number and the world are bolted together. Now turn it around. You've been walking through here as the distant past, a sealed exhibit you eventually get to leave. It is not the past, it's an address. 1,000 to 1,500 parts per million is where Earth's air is pointed by the year 2100 if the burning runs on. Everything burnable, burned. You aren't standing in Earth's history, you're standing inside one of its live futures. And it is, in the plainest physical terms, survivable, which is the exact moment the danger changes shape. It was never going to be the air, or the bites, or the light. The danger is that you can live here for a very long time, and that quietly turns the whole threat into something else. So what does a world take from you when it will happily keep you alive but was never built with you in mind? Look hard at what surrounds you. Scott Wing has read eocene plant beds for a lifetime, the shapes of fossil leaves, and a strange white mineral called nacolite that only crystallizes when the air is drowning in carbon dioxide, and together they show a biosphere running flat out. This is the cradle of the modern world. Nearly every mammal you could name is starting here, in shapes you'd half recognize. A four-limbed early whale still works the shallows at the river's edge. The first small horses and the ancestors of elephants graze past, dog-sized, wrong, unbothered, and not one of them is anything to you. No band to fall in with, no tool you didn't cut yourself, no fire you didn't strike, no medicine, no voice that answers when you call. This world will feed you and shade you, and it holds nothing of your kind, nothing that will ever come looking. So, the arithmetic tips over. The threat stops being a night to survive. It becomes the 10th year, the cut on your foot that turns a color it shouldn't, the tooth that dies, the fall with no one who will ever find where you landed. Nothing here hunts you. It doesn't have to. In a survivable world with no other human in it, the thing that finishes you is only time. And time is the one thing you'll have far too much of. So say you're good at this. Say you learn the swarm, and the light that won't quit, and the seasons that never come. Say you live. That is the verdict. You live. There's no atmosphere here to outlast, no clock counting down to a moment they let you go. You get years, you get the warm mornings, the roaring green, the long impossible light, every hour of it alone, and then more. The world stays gentle, stays indifferent, stays empty of every single person who ever knew your name. You wanted a past that wouldn't try to kill you. Here it is. It will never raise a hand to you. It will only keep you fed, breathing, whole, the last of your kind by 50 million years, for as long as the body lasts, in a paradise with no one in it, no way out of it, and no end to it but the one you carry inside yourself. So why travel all this way to the one world in the series that won't harm you? Because of that number on the panel. 1,000 to 1,500 parts per million isn't only the Eocene's fingerprint. It's the mark our own sky is aimed at, inside the lives of children already born, if we keep burning. Every other era here is a warning about an air you will never have to breathe. This one is a photograph of an air we still might. And now you've seen what the number looks like once it stops being a number. It looks like a crocodile at the pole. It looks like forest where the ice belongs, a sea risen 70 meters up the land, a planet that is, in every physical sense, warm and green and thriving. The Eocene is the reference point, the world the models reach for at the top of the curve. Not a catastrophe you'd feel on your skin, a world you could stroll straight into. You asked, at the start, what a dangerous world feels like. Here is the harder answer this whole series has been walking toward. The most dangerous world in all of deep time is the one that feels like nothing at all, the one that will not touch you and keeps you anyway. We would survive it. What this place leaves you holding in the warmth and the terrible calm is the only question worth carrying out of it. Survive it as what, and beside whom?